Hey, what's going on, guys? Crobat for the win. Danza here today, and I'll be your host for Around the Rhyhorn, Season 4, Week 5. I want to apologize in advance for my voice. I've been fighting strep throat this week, and it's been really tough, but I'm still here today, and I'm privileged to be here today with our 4 panelists on today's show, Mr. Monotooi, Mr. K-Lover/Parker, Mr. LuckyLadTV, and Mr. DallasBoy1992. Introduce yourself.
Hello, GBA. It's DallasBoy1992 again, and I would like to wish Danza well and get well soon.
What's up, guys? My name is Lucky from LuckyLadTV, and I know that Danza's on the road to recovery, and I just hope that it stays as smooth as it's been.
Hi, everyone.
Or K-Lover48, and I'm happy to be here again.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monotooi, and Danza, I would also like to wish you well, but in case you don't recover, I would like to replace you in your job.
Oh, man.
That's the best one so far.
8 plus 10 out of 10 would do that again.
Oh, we're starting off great here today. Awesome. Thank you for joining us this week. Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough week, but I've got a cough drop in my mouth. I've got water right here. Should be good to go. All right. Here's our introduction for the day. I'm going to say a phrase that relates to the GBA this week, and you guys are welcome to respond however you can. This week's word is undefeated. Let's hear your thoughts.
Well, as of right now, Dan and Mulvone are the 2 remaining undefeated players in the GBA. Dan has had a relatively easy schedule, which has aided him along the way, with a little bit of tax against Shady Penguin in week 2. But Mulvone has had a pretty easy schedule himself, but he's had it a little bit harder than Dan has, since he's had to go against Winnipeg and the Real Morrill, and wound up getting a W out of both of those. Out of both those teams, Mulvone has proved a little bit more that he's a top threat in the GBA than Dan has. But don't count Dan out with his Chansey Mega Sableye core that's done very well this season, and has actually had both of them be contenders in the MVP race.
For me, I think the record doesn't necessarily show the skill level. Like, yes, they are both skilled players, but I think that there are players who are more skilled in the GBA who've just gotten unlucky or just haven't played as well this season. You know, they've done good to be undefeated, Mulvone, and Dan, but, you know, I think Shady and Cooper, maybe even John, have a chance to take them down if they play.
I think that the whole undefeated lore, I don't think it means anything for the coaches themselves. I don't think they care, because from all the coaches that I've talked to, they absolutely take it week by week, and none of that means anything to them. I think what it means more is for the person facing the undefeated team, because they have this looming shadow of strength over them that generally intimidates the opponent, and I think that's really where the effect comes in.
Definitely. I can agree with Dallas that Mulvone is definitely the more deserving of an undefeated season than Dan. Not to discredit Dan at all, because he has been playing very well, but Dan has also had a relatively easy lineup so far, while Mulvone has beaten Miguel, and he is the only one to have beaten Miguel.
Okay, after that introduction, let's discuss the first word. You guys are welcome to have a brief debate or discussion about the 2 topics I've chosen. Here's the first one. Hank has hit a real rough patch as the league closes out the first half of the season. 3 losses in a row is really tough, and 3 losses in general is really tough, actually, especially when he has to compete with the undefeated Mulvone and Geo in the other conference, division, rather. Do you guys think he can rebound and still make the playoffs, even though he's in a less than ideal spot?
I think he can. I think Hank has the intelligence to be able to play his games well enough. There's no denying he doesn't have one of the best teams. He has a good team, but it's not one of the best. But I think he's one of the better players in the league, and I think he can pull it through. He's not going to be a first seed. I don't think it's possible for him to get past Mulvone's record simply looking at how things have gone. But to the same extent, I think he could definitely make it to the playoffs, and how far he would go therein is up for debate, but I definitely think I don't think he's done yet. I don't think he's down and out.
As we saw last week, Mulvone had a pretty clear team advantage over Hank, so I don't know how Hank is going to get out of that one and avoid 4 straight losses. But that being said, I do believe that Hank is not done yet. He's drafted an extremely good team, in my opinion at least, that has the potential to still make the playoffs, although he has lost 3 straight games. In the weaker Hoenn Conference, he's still very much alive for that wildcard spot. But he needs to steel himself from Molvone this week and stay ahead of gym leader Gio and the San Francisco Giants, who are also in that race for the wildcard spot, if he wants to make the playoffs. Just needs to relax a little bit and then get that differential up. It's not over yet.
Yeah, so it's all going to come down to the wild card spot, in my opinion. I don't see him being able to pass Molvone, and honestly, with the momentum that Gio and Hank are having, both in two opposite directions, Gio with 2 straight wins and Hank with 3 straight losses, right now I'm seeing Gio. I don't think Hank is out of it. You know, he can definitely come back, but right now I have Gio to get into the playoffs over Hank.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really think Hank has too much of a chance to make the playoffs this season. I really don't think he's going to pass Molvone, and I really don't think he's going to have the ability to pass Gio in the wild card race. Primarily, personally, after watching the last match against Molvone, I'm not too impressed with the way he played, and more not impressed with the way he planned for his team. Like, in his video, he said he was really not surprising him to bring Gallade. But when you look at Hank's team, you can really tell that Gallade puts a number on it. You know, it has knockoff for the Latias and the Mismagius. It has Drain Punch, Close Combat for the Magneton Sharpedo, Ice Punch for potentially Tornadus T, and I believe it gets Stone Edge even for the Pinsir. So really nothing is a safe switch-in. And that's just one of the mistakes he's made that has made me think that he's not really going to be a playoff contender.
I think, kind of like, to sum up what everybody has said, I think Winnipeg is sort of like the dark horse in that conference in that there's no telling how well they're going to do because they could easily pick it back up, gain a lot of momentum, and start tearing through. But to the same extent, they could also continue losing their momentum and just fall completely off. So only time will tell.
I'd also like to say that despite the criticism I just gave him, it's definitely possible that he can come back and prove me wrong and just win 5 in a row.
I'm just trying to ignore the sweet smell of pancakes in the morning. That's for baby Nick right there. Okay, next topic. Gio used Power Herb, Bounce Gyarados. Talk about creativity. I enjoyed seeing Gio use that set. It's apparent he stepped his game up this week to play John. Do you guys expect him to continually step his game up more and more to the extent that he will make the playoffs and have a winning record?
Now, I don't know if any of you guys have had extensive conversation with Gio. I interviewed him for my YouTube channel, and it was a whole lot of fun. And one of the things that he definitely gave off was creativity and confidence. So I don't like predicting who will win, who will lose, and stuff like that. But to the same extent, I expect more and more creativity and more just shenanigans like that you just wouldn't expect. Because Bounce's Gyarados is only Flying Stab, and Power Herb only goes off once, but that'll one-shot a lot of stuff because it's a lot of power.
Well, it took a while, but it turns out that Gio has pretty much gotten the hang of the format. I'd have to give him pretty mad props for bringing the Power Herb Bounce Gyarados that caught John completely off guard and kind of rode his way to victory that week. And I pretty much believe that Gio has a real shot at making the playoffs as a wildcard team. I mean, yes, his biggest competition is Hank the Pidgey, and it's going to be a bit of a scrum between the both of them, but yeah, it's pretty much going to be either Hank or Gio in that wildcard spot by the way they're playing and how their teams are built and how the rest of the conference is doing. But he needs to bring his A-game for the Realm Rill and probably get a little bit lucky in that matchup. And after that, he has the Red Rockies, the Softbucks, and the Steel Wings, who have pretty much a grand total of 2 wins combined between all 3 of them. And after that, it's a rough matchup against Molvone to end the season. Gio has the potential to make the playoffs, but he needs to play as well as he can, aka the best he's done in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, basically everything Dallas just said. You know, Gio has finally sort of gotten used to the format, and you know, I expect this momentum to continue, especially with the schedule that Gio has coming up. It's going to be between him and Hank for the playoffs, basically. And I think that the way the momentum is going right now, it's going to be Gio taking it.
Yes, I can agree Gio is likely in the running for the wild card. Now, I know you guys are a big fan of his Power Gyarados, but personally, I don't really see too much of a point for Power Gyarados, primarily just because nothing really wants to switch in on a Bounce anyway, so I don't really see the benefit of running Power Herb over Leftovers when at +1, Bounce plus Waterfall is going to kill a Raikou anyway. And let's not forget that the reason why Bounce is also so common on Gyarados is because it gives you that extra turn of Leftovers. And if you're running Power Herb, you don't get that Leftovers recovery. But that being said, I do think Gio is definitely getting used to the format, and I really think I'm going to see him in the playoffs.
I mean, one other potential advantage for the Power Herb is that then you have a really safe switch into a knockoff, and I don't have John's team at the ready, but a knockoff from Crocodile is terrifying, and if you have a safe switch into that also has Intimidate, Gyarados with Power Herb perfectly counters that just because Gyarados won't take that much from a knockoff, and with a super effective Waterfall, you can scare the Crocodile out, so it's a really good counter for that.
I'd actually like to point out the fact that Gyarados was carrying Moxie this week over Intimidate. Intimidate definitely probably would have worked better, but I guess that's Gio's way of how he rolls, and pretty much all I have to say for that.
Alrighty, so we shall conclude the first word. Next up is Be a Coach. Now, it's going to be a little bit different this week. Pretend for a moment you guys are coaches. I want you to evaluate how the coach you have been assigned is doing at the halfway point. Consider performance, playoff potential, trades, etc. in your responses. Monotooi, discuss Miguel's, his evaluation.
Well, coming up on the halfway point of the season, Miguel should be very happy that he's going in 4-1 at the top of his division, as well as having the highest differential of any team in the entire league. The biggest aspect to Miguel's success has been his astounding team planning and predicting his opponent's team that they're going to bring to his match. For example, the Koba Berry that weakens flying type moves. That was excellent innovation on Miguel's part. He saw what Steve could potentially do. He saw something that could be a problem for his team, and he took care of it immediately, and it ended up really helping out. Along with that, he's been doing an excellent job of sticking to his game plan. For example, against his match against Mulvone, his game plan was weaken his team and then sweep with Stoutland, and obviously that didn't work out. But in his other matches, he's really stuck to his game plan, and each time it's worked out for him and he's won. Another huge asset is his team's versatility. I have his roster right in front of me. Florges, Hydreigon, Victini, Thunderous-Eye, Megalopunny, Chestnut, Escavalier. All of these things and even Hippowdon, have very versatile move pools. You have no idea what set they're going to run. For example, in regular season play, Scizor could be a very good counter to Hippowdon. It'll take any hit, it can set up SDs, and the most you can do is Whirlwind it out, but if you know that it's going to be brought, Fire Fang, you can run Ice Fang. It gets the Elemental Fang, Stone Edge, Earthquake. It's going to hit things hard, and it's going to be a good counter for any real team. And that's just one Pokemon. The rest of his team can do the same thing as well, Lopunny with the Elemental Punches, everything else. So, really the only thing on his team that has kind of underperformed has been Doublade, just because he hasn't used it yet this season. And that's just because Miguel hasn't decided to bring it. He's smart with his team building. If he doesn't think Doublade is a good fit, he's not going to bring it. Also, another underperformer is Waffles, but I've already gone over him enough, so. As far as trades go, I don't think Miguel really even needs to do anything. I think his team is fine as is. The only thing I would maybe suggest doing, which again is just a suggestion, is trade either Doublade or Escavalier for maybe a powerful Psychic type or really just another physical attacker. Just because Escavalier and Doublade have similar uses. They can both hit hard physically, they're both pretty bulky, they're both steel types, they can both pursue trap. But again, Miguel knows what he's doing, and I trust that regardless of what he does, trade or does not trade, he's going to do fine. And as far as his place goes in the standings, Miguel has built himself a cushion. I believe he's 2 games ahead of the person behind him, but it's not a huge cushion. He's going to have to keep playing the way he's been playing in order to make the playoffs, but I'm pretty confident that he's going to do fine and he's going to reach it to the playoffs. Or he's going to make it to the playoffs, rather.
Next up, Lucky. Can you give a midway evaluation for Cooper?
I can. I am writing down his squad right now. Just because I don't want to be going back and forth between panels. And one of the things that I love is how he dropped the Lucario. I love Lucario, obviously. Mega Lucario is my mascot, but to the same extent, I was absolutely shocked that Nidoking had not been drafted. Because if you think about it, Nidoking's terrifying. It takes care of fairy types really well. And then ground type is the best attacking type in the game. And when you look at the rest of his squad, he doesn't have that many problems. He has Dusknoir, which is fat as hell. And he has the Zapdos, Blissey, which is it's not as good as Chansey, but it does what you need it to. And also you have Cooper, who brings jolly scarfed Aggrons and who knows what else. But as far as his performance is concerned, I think I would be content with my performance as him. He's new to the meta to a certain extent. He hasn't been there since Season 1, I believe. And the other thing about him is that he understands the meta and how you need to be really creative. And he brought a choice scarf Aggron. What's more creative than that? I mean, let's be honest here. He's doing things that most other coaches don't have the balls to do. And I think he's absolutely one of the most creative, and in terms of trade potential, he has Venomoth, which he could get rid of because he doesn't really need it all that much. He has the Whimsicott, which he can also get rid of because he doesn't need it that much. And the other thing that he could potentially do is get rid of something like his Blissey, which he doesn't use every week. He could, but he doesn't really need to. There's a lot that he could do. And the reason that I say that is because of how he plays. He plays creative. He plays eclectic. He plays so that you absolutely cannot predict what he's going to do. And that's why I think he should be very proud of how he's done as a coach, because he's unlike any other coach in the format.
Dallas, can you give a midway evaluation of Shady?
Before I start my evaluation, I would like to apologize to Mr. Shady Penguin and the New York Yankees and the New York Yankees fanbase for being critical of the Ambipom pick with 104. Shady, you have definitely proved me wrong with your use of it, making it into the MVP discussion and whatnot, and I applaud you for proving me wrong 5 games into the season. If I'm Shady, I'd feel very good about myself. I'm comfortably in the wildcard spot in a pretty weak conference. I'm 4-1, could have been 5-0, but it is what it is. Hacks is hacks. And after tough this upcoming week, I need to steel myself for Dan, Hank, and Cooper for the next 3 weeks. That's going to be a pretty tough schedule, so I need to prep well and do what I've been doing all season. As for free agency, I kind of see that Galvantula hasn't been doing so much for my team, although I did bring it to slow down Nitz's team this past week. And I dropped that for Metagrowth. Metagrowth gives me a little bit of extra bulk, and I can run a plethora of sets with it. An agility set, a stealth rocking set, probably some screens if needed, etc. And pretty much use those sets if need be. And I know I drafted Galvantula because I didn't want any of my opponents using it, but I don't think any of the other teams can afford picking up Galvantula right now. So I think I'd be fine dropping Galvantula for Metagross.
Okay, Parker. So, evaluate John at the midway point of the season.
Well, John has kind of underperformed compared to the hype that his team had. I think his team is still the scariest in the league, but one of the main things he needs to do, in my opinion, is play Mega Venusaur a little more conservatively. I feel like he lets it go down really quickly, and it's such a huge threat, and it should stay alive for most, if not all, the battle. Another underperformer was Spiritomb, but he's traded that out for Sigilyph, and that has not gotten a chance to prove itself yet, so it'll be interesting to see what that does. Also, Kyurem B. It's one of the biggest threats in the league, and it really just hasn't done much this season. It'll be interesting to see if he can make it come back. What it's all going to come down to for John is the Week 9 matchup against Cooper, since he's basically playing for that division because the wild card spot is so hard to get at this point. Basically, Shady or Dan have that in lock, depending on which one wins that division, but also he has to be able to beat Miguel and Dan in weeks 7 and 6, which will be tough. Basically, he has to stay ahead of Cooper, which will be a tough thing to do because Cooper is such a good player. After beating Cooper once, beating him in week 9 again will be difficult because he's definitely going to bring his A game.
Alrighty, so any last remarks before we close out? Be a coach.
On the topic of Waffles, I'm pretty sure that Waffles will be a little bit more obedient in the upcoming season, or the upcoming weeks, so I don't think we need to worry about that.
Speaking of waffles, pancakes.
There you go, Baby Nick. It's here twice now, Baby Nick. Pancakes were brought up twice. Maybe we'll get third time in here. Third time's a charm, after all.
You'll never get sweats for breakfast! Pancakes!
There we go. Third time's a charm. Baby Nick, if you don't like this video, get lost.
So first it was chicken nuggets, now it's pancakes.
There might be pancakes galore in this video. I don't know. Alright, another round is over. Up next, Out of Bounds. So there is a big scandal going around the GBA. Cooper's Aggron hasn't missed a single head smash in GBA history, and this trend continued this week. What's up, guys? Is Cooper feeding Aggron illegal substances, more than proteins and irons and carbos? Or has Cooper illegally been training Aggron in accuracy? I mean, head smash does have 80% accuracy, the same as Stone Edge, and we know how often Stone Edge hits. Never. So discuss, what are your thoughts?
You know what, guys? I don't appreciate you considering that I, Cooper, would illegally train my Aggron to hit head smashes. It's quite possible that I just happen to be the greatest trainer ever, and that people are unable to avoid my head smashes. Did you ever consider that? Or is it always, it has to be steroids, or it has to be accuracy EVs, or it has to be aliens or the Illuminati? How do you know it's just...
You've been giving your pokes X accuracies before battle, Cooper.
Hey, what I do with my Pokemon in the privacy of my home is none of your business.
What, is Cooper turning on the Wonder Launcher or something? Is that even still in Gen 6? I'm gonna look that up.
Well, Wonder Launcher is only available in Gen 5.
Yeah, you're right, it is only Gen 5. But somehow he's brought it into Gen 6, and he's using it to improve the accuracy of Aggron.
He shouldn't be ruling out the fact that he's been giving out X accuracies to his Pokemon before battle.
Maybe whoever genned his Aggron just gave it no guard.
Yeah.
Good theory.
Wait, I'm Cooper. Hey, no, that's not possible.
Oh, I know why. I know Ron doesn't miss any head smashes. It's because it's Boss God.
I mean, how do you guys know that it's not just magic?
He actually created a new ability where he doesn't miss head smashes, but they also don't do damage to him. It's like a combination. It's like a combination of Rockhead and No Guard.
I think for this illegality, I think 8 Aggron should be suspended for a little bit of time, probably 2 to 4 games length. But that would be very horrible for the Utah Jasmine, as Aggron is Cooper's go-to guy for the team, as it gives Cooper some great physical bulk and power.
How dare you accuse me of such things?
You can't suspend someone without any proof.
Right.
Wait here. So if we can have other leagues that are very similar to ours suspend players for deflating Pokeballs for 4 games, we can suspend Aggron for 5 games for taking steroids.
No, you can't. Aggron is precious and has committed no sins.
Tell that to Brady!
I would also like to point out that on the GBA website, under roster, Aggron is in all capital letters. You know what little kids call capital letters? Big letters. You know what makes you big? Steroids.
I mean, you can't argue with that. That's science.
Case closed.
Cooper, everyone's calling you out.
I mean, I am Cooper, and I hear it, and I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Alrighty, so... Aggron takes steroids. Confirmed.
No!
Not just proteins and irons and carbos and calciums and... Then again, what Aggron would take calcium? Oh, Cooper will use special Aggron. Never mind.
Yep. If he hadn't already considered it, he thinks he knows now.
Yep, indeed he does. Okay, so... we're probably going to end this big scandal. I think it's even bigger scandal than the Pokeball deflating scandal, so... My personal opinion, Aggron should be suspended for 5 games, since the league decided to set a precedent that deflating Pokeballs was only worth 4 games.
Don't take performance-enhancing drugs, kids. It will lead to terrible things.
Yeah, you'll turn into a giant black monster with silver head spikes.
And don't deflate footballs either. I mean Pokeballs, because you'll turn into Tom Brady.
But if you do it as a professional athlete, you'll probably get paid more.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay, so I think we can put a close to Out of Bounds. We got some fun laughs in there. We have the lightning round last. You will all have 30 seconds to make a stance, agree, disagree with the statement I make. I must emphasize, these are not my opinions, but rather topics I think people would be interested to listening to. Let's jump in. Number 1. If Hank had brought Mega Pinsir, there is little to no doubt that he would have won this week. Go.
I said this last week and I'm going to say it again. I don't think it would have made too much of a difference. The Lazards have plenty of things to combat Mega Pinsir. Mega Manectric, Talonflame, Fortress, Weavile, etc. Even a Zygarde with proper EV investment would have dealt with Mega Pinsir. It would have helped the score, but I doubt Hank would have won even with Mega Pinsir last week.
Alright, you got 5 seconds on the clock.
4, 3, 2, 1, blast off!
Boom. Alrighty, next.
Okay, I think that Mega Pinsir would have made a huge difference in that game, just because Gallade was the main threat, and Mega Pinsir can deal with that really well. Like, as long as Hank would have been able to take out the substitute, then Mega Pinsir could come in. Even with Gallade having a few bulk ups, it wouldn't have lived a return. Mega Pinsir could have taken care of the huge threat, even if it was a bad matchup for the rest of his team. It still would have put Hank back into the game, back into a position to win.
Alrighty, time's up. Next up.
I'm going to go along with Parker and say that bringing Mega Pinsir would have definitely been a huge factor in potentially having Hank win. Yes, Mega Manectric and Talonflame can both easily revenge kill it, but neither of them are switch-ins. Mega Manectric takes 38 to 45% from an adamant return, and I keep saying adamant, as I mentioned last week, because it just makes more sense with the way Molvone's team works. But not only that, Gliscor and Fortress are not counters. You know, unless Gliscor is running Stone Edge, Mega Pinsir can just shut up all over it.
Alrighty, time's up.
Alright, so I just need to say that, as I said last week, Infernape was his win condition. Mega Pinsir doesn't do all that much to Molvone. Infernape is a lot more important. Weavile got 1 kill, which is 1 more than it should have, and the Gallade got 4 kills. I still think that Mega Pinsir would not have changed the game outcome very much. I really don't. And I have probably 4 seconds left.
Nope. 1. Time's up.
Also, I'd like to point out the calc I just gave you, 38 to 45% to Mega Manectric, that's after the Intimidate drop.
Okay, next topic. If Miguel didn't carry the Koba berry, the flying type resist berry, on Chestnut, then Steve probably would have won the game. Go.
Let me wait for the dog.
Shut up, Waffles!
Yeah, I have 4 dogs.
Even if there were no Koba Berry, Chestnut, Miguel still had Victini and Escavalier to deal with Breloom, and Landorus Therian was not carrying the HP flying this week, as we saw from Steve just earthquaking the Chestnut away. And that helped Miguel a little bit more with his gameplay for the match. And Miguel's too good of a player to succumb to Steve in the Sawsbucks. There would have been a big difference in the score, but not even close to a difference in the end result.
Alright, time's up.
Shots fired at Steve.
Oh, okay, guys, my dog shut up now, so I would just like to say, I'm pretty sure even a Technician boosted HP flying, even without the Koba Berry, I don't think it would have killed. Just because Breloom's special attack is garbage, and Chestnut is fat. I don't think it would have killed. It only halves the damage, and it didn't, meaning the berry only halves the damage, and it didn't do over half. So, I don't think it would have made a difference in the end.
Alrighty, time is up.
Okay, I completely agree with both of them. Miguel didn't necessarily need the berry to win. It was good planning on his part to predict the HP flying, and he definitely did good to beat Steve, but he could have done it without it.
Alrighty, next.
I entirely agree that the Koba Berry on Chestnut did not result in a loss for Miguel, or it didn't change the outcome of the match. However, it definitely gave Miguel a bigger differential. Especially at the end, had Chestnut been weakened just a little bit more, close combat would have killed, and which would have resulted in a 3-0. And so, once again, differential is important in the GBA, and so while it wasn't too huge of a play in the end, it might end up being a help when it comes down to playoff.
Alrighty, time is up. Next question. The Sawsbucks greatly benefited from trading Breloom for Ferrothorn. Steve will finally start winning games. Go.
Steve was the big winner in the Frothorn Burloom trade. Steve now actually has a crazy bulky Firewater Grass core in the form of Arcanine, Suicune, and Frothorn. Frothorn will definitely help him out a lot, sending up some Stealth Rocks, Spikes, getting off some Leech Seeds and whatnot. But Steve needs to play a lot better than he has been if he wants to win probably any game this season. And this all starts off with the match he has against the Detroit Steelwings, so I think he can do it.
Alright, time is up. Next.
I think that it will definitely help him and definitely works for his team better than Breloom did. But like Dallas said, he needs to play well as well. You can't just have a good team. And so far, he hasn't been doing that. I think next week is probably his best chance to be able to get a win. And I think Ferrothorn could maybe help him do that.
Alrighty, and we got a 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Next.
I agree that this trade was heavily in Steve's favor. Now that Steve has traded away his Breloom, he gains a little bit more bulk in the form of Ferrothorn, as well as what Dallas said, he now has a disgusting Firewater Grass core. Not only that, but with Ferrothorn being able to set up hazards such as rocks and spikes, Landorus T should be able to set up more of an offensive role.
Alrighty, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
Alright, so I actually think this trade was better for Geo.
Ooh.
If you look at it, Geo already has Scizor, which is a double fire weakness. He already has Scolipede, which is a regular fire weakness. So he's getting rid of a double fire weakness for a regular fire weakness. He's replacing it with a double flying weakness, but he doesn't really have that issue on his team already. The other thing that you have to consider is that he had like an excessive amount of bulk on his team, and now he has a legitimate sweeper. And he also has access to Spore and Technician Priority.
Alright, time's up. Alright, next question. The Giantes have all the momentum in the world after last week. Therefore, Geo will take down Miguel.
Gio needs to do better than he did last week against John to beat Miguel, in my opinion. Miguel plans for every scenario possible to beat his opponents, as we saw with Steve and him predicting the HP Flying Landorus T instead of the HP Flying Breloom. And this week with Gio won't be any different. That said, Gio does have the tools to beat Miguel, even with the newly acquired Breloom, but he needs to go above and beyond if he wants to win this match. And yes, I do think Breloom will definitely help against Miguel this week.
Alright, time's up. Next.
Yo, I'm going to slide on in here and say that I honestly think that Breloom is going to come through with that trade and Geo's going to win. I think that that's really going to help give Geo that extra little bit of momentum and that extra little bit of invigoration to really pull through. It's going to be a kick in the pants for him. He's going to keep doing really well. And I think he's going to take down John, and I think he's going to continue doing well in that fashion.
Alrighty, time's up. Next.
Okay, so I'm actually going to agree with Lucky Lad here and say that Geo can come out with the win. He has a lot of momentum, and he has really adjusted to the format well. And Breloom hits Hydreigon, Hippowdon, and Megalophony, and it's just really good for the matchup overall. And I think Geo can come away with this win as long as he plays right.
Time's up. Next.
Although I said earlier that this trade was more in favor of Steve, I definitely agree that Breloom is a very good Pokemon against Miguel's team. For example, I'm just going to go down Miguel's roster. Mach Punch hits Lopunny, Rock Tomb hits Thunderous Eye, Rock Tomb hits Victini, Mach Punch for Hydreigon. Life Orb Bullet Seed will hurt Florges a lot. Mach Punch hits Stoutland, Bullet Seed hurts Tentacruel, HP Flying, as we've seen last week, hits Chestnut, and Bullet Seed hits Hippowdon. That is, I believe, yeah, that's almost his entire team.
Time's up. Alright, so the last one. This is a fun one. The Utah Jasmine will miss a head smash this week. Go.
No!
Yeah, it
No!
does happen at some
No, I am Cooper. I will never miss. I am Cooper. I will never miss. AGG round will never miss a head smash, and it will destroy every player on every team ever. Period. End of statement. All of you are wrong. I'm Cooper.
I think I'm going to make this one 15 seconds, because there's no point in making it 30 since this is just a fun one.
That's all I was gonna say. I wasn't gonna say anything else.
Time's up. Alright, I'll make it 15 seconds like I said, just because this one was just a fun question to end it. Go.
It hasn't happened yet. It's bound to happen at some point. But with the same accuracy as Stone Edge, it can happen. But that said, with the matchup disadvantage Rocket has against Nips, I doubt Head Smash will use it all of this game. So I'm saying it's not going to miss because it won't even be used.
Oh, bold prediction right there. Time's up. Next.
I don't even need 15 seconds. I need 2. Aggron is boss god. That is all. It will not miss.
Yeah.
Alrighty, time's up. Next.
I agree entirely with Dallas. There is no point for him to bring Cooper to bring Head Smash, as none of his Pokemon are weak to rock. The only reason he would bring it is maybe to hit Mega Altaria harder, but there's no point for him to bring it this week.
Alright. Time's up, and I think we're pretty much at the end. Do you guys have any final things to say in general about anything?
Pancakes.
Chicken nuggets.
Can't steal Kyle's thunder.
I'm sorry.
Alright, so I think that's just about it then. That will conclude our 5th edition, Season 4, Week 5 of Around the Rhyhorn. We're on a 6-day, 23.5-hour break. I've put a straw poll to vote on the panelists you most agree with in the description. I really appreciate that, you guys all understand that I've been suffering with strep throat, and I still got to do this, and I hope you all enjoyed anyways. Thanks for listening, guys, and peace out. I'm looking forward to being healthy next week.
Also, I'd just like to say thank you to Danza for editing these videos so much and making us sound so much less fucking retarded.
I think that's going to stay in, too.
I would like to personally go on record as saying that Cooper and I are actually just alter egos of one another.
There you go. Alrighty, I'm going to close this out now. Peace.
Later.